Hello and welcome to this session. We are going to be making a silk and merino blend cowl neck warmer. I like calling them neck warmers. So this is going to be a real-time video. I'm not going to be stopping. So even during the rolling process, once we get there, I'll let you know. Just fast forward the video so that you're not sitting there with the rolling process. But we're going to be making a teal one. This one has pretty much all the same materials that I'm going to be using in the teal. Or the teal blended mixed color. So I'll put this to the side. The first thing that we're going to need is our resist. Now our resist, measure your neck. And then I added about 5 times that size because it's going to shrink. I like to get it to about a 30 to 40% shrinkage rate. So just get your sizing comfortable for your neck. This sizing here is I believe a 15. Going across. And then it really doesn't matter how tall it is. It just depends on how much material you want to make for your neck warmer. It will scrunch down. So this is, I'll kind of flatten this out so that you can see this shrinkage rate here. So I started from about here to here, and then it did wrap around. So this is the shrinkage rate here. And this fits comfortably with a nice bit of room on my neck. But it is small enough that I could wrap this around my ears if I wanted to. So go ahead and get your measurements that's going to be comfortable for you. Let's go over the materials that we're going to be using today, or what I'm going to be using. A resist. This is just the material that you find for packing up plates when you go moving. I found a nice big roll and I cut it to my size, and there you go. A resist is needed so that we have this hollow inside here and it becomes continuous. Instead of doing a long scarf, this one is a nice continuous blend. And we'll show you the magic of how that works with the resist. I like to use the bubble wrap method. So I have 2 sheets of bubble wrap. One that is laying on the table with the bubble side up. And this one is going to sandwich closed onto my wool, and we'll go over that when that step happens. We're also going to need water, a good amount of water, some soap. This soap is naturally based. It has coconut oils and castor oils and your soap base, so it's all natural. This is called a ball browser. This is going to allow me to suck up water into this bulb and squeeze out the water in a nice even fashion. Something to roll your project in. I like to use pool noodles about the size of my project. And then the fun part is all of your wools and your embellishment wools. I'm going to be using an array of materials. I've got some both natural, a higher percentage of natural wools and some synthetics. This is a blend of synthetics and wool. Some rayons in here too, with some polyesters. So I think this will give a really nice textural component to the scarf. This is a pure tussa silk. So it has a nice, not 100% pure white, but it has kind of a golden hue. I thought would look really nice with the teal colors. This is a mohair, 100% mohair. It's not buckla, but it does have quite a bit of hairiness to the yarn. which is going to be great for the yarn to really grab onto those pieces that are straying from the yarn. So this will be really nice. Another textural effect. And then this is all pure polyester. It's just a chiffon type of material, but it has a nice open weave. And we want that so that the wools can really migrate in between that weave and really adhere to each other. And then this is going to be our base. And this is a merino blend. I believe it's 19 microns, so it's a nice soft blend. Anything higher than 20 microns or so, it's going to be kind of itchy on our skin. So we want to find something that's going to be nice and soft, especially since we're going to be rearing it. Now, the important thing that we need to do with all of our materials is I like to half it, because I need material to work on one side and then flip it over and put material on the other side. So this is about a half an ounce to about 3/4 of an ounce. I did not measure it on the scale, but to my eye, this is pretty much what you know, about a half an ounce to 3/4 of an ounce looks like. So I'm just going to split it right down the middle, and I'll have 2 equal parts for each side. So I'm going to put one to the side. I'm going to work with one, and then I'm going to do that with all of my material. I'm just going to break them all in half so that I have one for one side and one for the other. Break some of this. I don't think I'm going to use all of this, but I'll still break it in half. It won't hurt anything. And then my yarn, I'm not quite sure how much I'm going to use of this, but I think I'll just unroll a nice big long layer and cut that layer in half, and then I'll have sort of equal amounts there. All right, so now we have all of our materials nice and equal for our project. The first thing we're going to use is our base wool, and this is a merino. Like I said, merino dyed with different types of dyes and colors. We want to pull very, very light pieces of wool. And the way to do this is make sure our hands are nice and far apart. We don't want our hands close together, and then we can't pull that fiber. So we want a nice distance between our hands. And we're only cupping or clamping down on the edge, very tippy edge of the wool right here. We're not going any further down. We're just going to be pulling, and we're just going to do a gentle pull, and that's going to give us a really nice whisper amount of wool that we can then apply. And when we apply on the resist, we want a little bit of that wool to go over the edge. So anytime you put wool down, you want that wool to go over the edge when you are putting down on the resist. And then I just shingle. I want each edge to touch each edge, but very important that I'm doing only little wispy amounts of wool. This is going to keep it nice and flexible and soft. Once I put everything else on top of it, it's going to bulk up the scarf even more. If I get little bits like this, I just take the little bits and pinch them off and put them in a area that is bald. And then I just keep doing this until I fill up my resist. If I run out of fiber, I shouldn't. I actually should have fiber left over if I'm doing this correctly. But if I get a little heavy-handed and my fiber runs out, I will just pull from my other pile. If you don't have extra wool, you can always fill in your gaps with the other pieces of fiber that you have. And I'll show you that in a second once I get this all filled up, because there are some bald spots in here. See how little I'm using? I still have all of this left. I haven't even used half of what I intended. Make sure your edge to edge, that wispy edge to the wispy edge, are touching each other. You don't want to lay down and be like, unless that is your design choice, but you will have holes in your scarf. But if you want holes in your scarf, you can definitely put holes in your scarf. Might be a really cool look. All right, so this is my second to last layer. I'm just shingling all down, making sure that I am touching each edge to each edge. And now this is my last little line layer here. I'm not worried about the holes just yet. I'm not going to make this a holy scarf. If you want holes to be in your scarf, you probably would skip this step and keep those little holes, or arrange it in a way that you want. But for me, I'm going to address some of these holes. I still have so much wool left over. I'm not intending to use all of this wool, so just keep that in mind. So I will just keep taking little pieces and covering those little holes that I see. Any place that it's pretty thin, I'm just going to lay a little layer. And yes, I'm going in one direction for this one layer, because this is our first layer. If you were just to do this merino without any embellishments or without any other fibers, then I would do a crisscross pattern so that these fibers interlock really well with each other. But since I am not doing that, I'm just concentrating on one direction first. And I'm just filling in my holes very lightly. I am just putting tiny little wispy bits of wool. I want to keep this scarf nice and light. I don't want to get heavy-handed. Okay, I think that's good. I will give it a little bit of a pat down just to make sure that I have a nice even layer. I actually see this little hole right here. There's one up here. All right, I think that is good. Sometimes you can overdo it. Look at how much I have left over. That's about maybe a quarter to an eighth of an ounce left over. I'll just put that to the side in case I need it for the other side. And now I'm going to come in with my silk. So this is my Tussa silk. And again, I'm going to pull right from the edge. You don't have to get as far away, because silk has a very short staple length. And I'm just going to pull, and I'm going to go in the opposite direction. So now I'm going vertically down, but I don't really need to be that precise like I was with the wool, because maybe I want some open spots. So I'm just going to arrange this maybe in some little lines, keeping a little of the blue of the teal peeking through in between those little rows. And again, I'm not needing to use up every single bit of silk that's in my hand, just enough to give me a little bit of a texture. This is what I have left over. I'll put this to the other side in case I need it for the other side. Now I'm going to take my chiffons and I'm just going to arrange them. So the chiffon really is more for texture. So because this is a gauzy fabric, the wool is going to creep up in between the pieces, the gauzy, the open mesh part of this fabric. Just going to arrange it so I don't have too many holes, but it's going to give you this kind of effect. You see all of that little bubbles? So it gives you that really pretty textural effect. So it doesn't really matter how I arrange it or do with. I'm going to take some of these and just kind of throw them around. It's just all of these little bits and pieces that you see. I'm just going to give it some more texture. Oh, you know what? I have some. Hold on. I'm going to grab some more silk. I have a different color silk that I would like to use in this, and I totally forgot. So give me a moment. Let me go grab that silk. Yes, I have this really cool cobalt blue. I think some of this pop would look really nice with this teal. So just little pieces. I'm just going to grab a tiny little pinch, and I'm just going to let them fall where they go in little tiny strings, I guess, just to give it a little bit more pop, right? Some more color pop. Totally forgot I had this beautiful cobalt blue. And it's going to give it a little bit of shine too when the silk starts to do its felting. So silk can't felt by itself. It needs an animal protein to felt. So that's why I use the merino as my base, because my base is going to be the hard worker. He's going to be kind of like that embrace for all of the fibers. But once the silk merges with the merino, it kind of, I don't know, kind of wiggles. It gets really like a cool effect. Let me see if I can find it on this one here. Maybe here. Do you see how it wiggles? So this is a like kind of like a wine color mulberry silk, and I just put those in kind of stringy, and you see how wiggly they get? It's a really cool effect. So that's what I'm hoping these blue pieces do in this piece. Just kind of wiggle and give me some little wormy effects. All right, so here's my string, and I'm just going to arrange it. Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to let it wrap around. So anything hanging over the resist is going to wrap around, so it's a continuous sort of design. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay. Did I miss anything? I don't think I missed anything. So now I'm going to grab my soap and just drizzle it on. I like to err on the side of go little to begin with. Oops, sorry. Just wiggled my camera. I'm going to fill up my ball browser, and I'm going to fill this entire side with water. Usually takes about 2.5 bowlfuls of water. You think, oh gosh, you don't need that much water. It's such small amounts of wool. Oh, believe me, you need a lot of water for this project. Okay. So now I'm going to grab my second part of my bubble wrap. Bubbles touching. So that bubble texture side is going to be touching my wool and touching the other bubbles too. We're creating a sandwich. Once we have that covered, I'm going to pump this down and just gently pat all over. This is going to make the water move around and go to places where it may need more water. It's also going to make contact with the soap, and that soap is going to act like an artificial glue for your fibers so that the felting process can begin. I'm going to do this until I think that I have a good amount of contact with water and soap, And then I'm going to gently lift this, gently, and just assess and make sure that I have water and soap. And so far, it looks really good. So now I'm going to gently flip this sandwich over. Usually I like to put my hand on both sides and just gently flip it over, because now we need to work on our other side. And what I do is I gently lift the top up, and what happens is it kind of clings on to the bubble wrap, and then it just naturally folds over to the resist, and then I just take the bottom and just let that make contact with the resist so it closes over. Okay, that's the start of our continuous seam. And I do the same thing on this side. I just gently bring it over. It just naturally kind of grabs onto those fibers. Makes my jaw, it's like it's helping me. And then I grab the bottom and just let it make contact with the resist. And then I grab this, put it to the side until I need it again, and just fix anything that needs to be fixed. Okay, so we've got side one done. Now we're going to fill this up the same way that we filled up the first side. If you don't remember, take notes for yourself, because when I first started doing this, I forgot all the time, so I had to make little notes. All right, so we started with this teal merino mix because it's our base layer, and we're going to do the same thing, very light wispy pieces, and we are going to go a little bit over the edge again. Probably not as much as we did on the first side. We just want it to have contact with that other edge. And then start shingling your wispy pieces of wool. And then again, just a little bit over the edge. And then just keep continuing until this side is filled up with the merino. Don't worry about your holes. We will address those after we get this side filled up with our base wool. I really like this project. It's a pretty fashion piece, but it really does keep your neck warm in the winter time. And they're really nice sellers. So if you're looking for a project to sell at, a farmer's market or a festival, these sell very well. Just make sure that you put in your expenses all of the supplies that it cost you to make one of these, and then add in your time. This is probably going to take us, well, it's probably going to take me less than an hour to make this scarf. What makes this kind of a pricey investment is the silk. Silk is not cheap. So keep that in mind. All right, so now I'm going to address my holes. Again, if I wanted to make this a holey scarf, I probably wouldn't address the holes, and I probably would make the holes a little larger and make a very artsy type of artistic wearable piece. But this is more of a fashionable piece in my mind today. And you know what? I think I did pretty well with the holes this time around, and I've got this much left over, a little less than last time, but that's okay. All right, so then we used our silk, and we arranged the silk. That's the other thing, is to remember how you arranged everything, because then you'll have one side that looks different than the other side. Now that might be something that you want to do, give it a little bit more of an artistic expression. But I want this to be kind of continuous as I can. So I'm gonna just arrange this the same way that, or in a similar way that I did the other side. I did the silks in a line. This side here is going to be a little open, just like what we have here, so that's going to be just fine. Once you start experimenting with more fibers, you're going to see the effects that the different fibers have on, or have with the other wools or the other fibers. All right, now we did our chiffon pieces, and we just randomly placed them. I like random because then I don't have to worry or think about my design too much. Plus, when this all integrates with each other, it kind of gets messy anyway. All right, we have that. And then we had some of this. I just kind of threw pieces here and there willy-nilly, just to give it some textural effects. Put some of this polyester. Actually, I think that's rayon. Oh, and then we also did some of this beautiful cobalt. So I got sidetracked when I was last time. Just little stringy pieces all over. If you want your design to wrap and not have a spot where it kind of transitions, then you would wrap your design around and have that wrap around. But because I'm doing these little lines, it's going to kind of be a continuous. Might have a little bit of a transition, but that's not really going to worry me too much. I'm more of an organic type of creator. I don't like to overthink things. All right, and then our last thing was this little stringy thing. So I think I'm going to start up there this time. And just let it go. Let it go. I'm going to start singing that song. All right, so now we're going to put a little bit more soap, about an equal amount that you put on the first side. We could always add more soap. We can't take the soap away, but we can add more. That's why I always like to start off with a little and add as I go. All right, I didn't fill that up too much, so there we go. It takes a while for it to fill up. I love the smell of wool, especially when it gets wet. You really start getting those aromas. I mean, unless you're working with really dirty wool. It just has such an organic, natural smell to it. All right, now we're going to get our top cover and, oops. If that happens, just gently lift it and then rearrange it. This may be a heavy-handed silk over there, but that's okay. Like I said, I'm more organic. And we're going to pump this so that we move the water. You can actually see the water moving around underneath the bubble wrap. We want to see that dance underneath there. So that's a good thing. If we just go like this, it doesn't really catch everything. So when we pump it this way, it dances more. I feel like it spreads out more. I've done both kind of methods, and I find the pumping method really does the job faster. All right, I'm going to flip this around. Actually, let's just double check, making sure everything looks good. Yeah, this is going to look really nice once it starts doing its felting process. And I'm going to grab it and flip it to the other side and get those edges pulled up. So again, kind of does the job for us. It pulls it, and then I grab that bottom, and then I want the wool to really go up against the edge. If I don't, I'm going to have a little lump forming there. I don't want a little lump. And again, Okay. I'm not going to put this away yet, but everything looks really good. All right, now I'm going to start to do some hand massaging. Now, when I do hand massaging, I do the flat part of my hand, yes, but then I also go up on the little balls, the skin part of my fingers, not the nail part of the fingers, but the finger parts, and I like to give it a massage. I like to pretend that it's really me getting the massage. I do this for quite a while, about a minute or so on each side, a full minute. And let me tell you, a full minute is pretty slow. But you want to just massage, start getting those fibers woken up so we can start doing the felting process. All over, you can even go back and forth, just on those little balls. Sometimes I'll go flat. If your hands are too dry, you can always wet your hands so that your hands glide a little bit better on the plastic. And you're very gentle. I'm hardly touching. If I was really touching, you'd really see this moving around. But it's just a glide, almost like you're ice skating your hands over the plastic. You just want to get some of that agitation going. You could count if you wanted to, or put the timer on for yourself if you're not quite sure how long a minute's going to be for you. But you really want to do this process for a while. This is what's going to help integrate all of those non-animal protein fibers and wake up the merino so it can start hugging all those other fibers and start making a fabric. All right, so then I flip to the other side and I do the same exact process of just gentle massaging. Another minute. Very gentle. Nothing aggressive now. If you do a slow count up to 60. Should be enough time. All right. That should be enough for right now. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to address these edges. And I'm just going to peel a little spot away and gently pull the fibers away from the edge. You only want less than an inch showing of the resist. You're just pulling those loose fibers away. If they started to interlock, you can grab scissors and just gently open and snip that and then move that away. Okay. Less than an inch or so. This is going to give you a nice solid, here's a piece where I can cut. It's just going to make your edges look so much cleaner. All right, once I have that away, I'm going to close this and I'm just going to massage that edge that I just did. You can be as meticulous as you want to be, and if you're really into, ooh, it has to be perfectly edged, take the time. That's all you. I'm okay with a messy edge. All right, so then we're going to take this whole sandwich and turn it to the other edge and do the same thing that we did with that one edge. Just lift this so that it exposes And then with your finger, just move and pile those loose fibers into one little community, just like that. And then we're going to close it, give it a little rub. Nothing crazy. And then we're going to flip this. And we're going to do the same thing on each of those edges. So let's lift this and ever so gently. What I do sometimes is just lift this just to make sure I'm the same distance away from the edge that the other side is. And just pile it. This piece right here has a little bit of a hole, so I can kind of manipulate those fibers so maybe it won't be a vulnerable hole. I'm going to close it, oops, and then close it and give it a little bit of a rub. So this edge is done. And now I can turn it to the last edge. So there's all 4 edges get done before we really start to get this puppy together. All right, lift, and again, move. We're just grabbing those fibers so that we can pile them to make a nice edge. See, nothing too crazy. Just make sure that I have almost an even line across. And just moving those stray little fibers so it has a nice community, and give it a little bit of a rub. All right, I'm gonna open this and I'm just gonna test things. Very gently move things around. If I'm doing this and things just start really sliding like crazy, I'm going to close it and do another massage. So if anything on this particular project is moving crazy for me, I'm going to just close this again and give it another, let's do 30-second massage. Nice gentle massaging. We don't want anything to slip and slide crazy around our surface. If it is, close it and do some more hand massaging. The balls of your fingers. Pretend you're on the massage table getting a massage. I'm telling you, this wool's going to be nice and zen after this. All right. Now I'm going to flip it and check the other side. All right, let's see. Anything vulnerable? Let's see. Give it the wiggle test. We're always testing this wool to make sure that we can go on to the next stage, especially the silk, especially these little chiffons. Anything artificial needs a little bit more tender loving care in the massage. So let's close this. I'm just going to give this another about 20-second massage. It seemed a lot more vulnerable. It seemed a lot more solid than the other side. So let's give it a little 20-second massage with the balls, with the tips of my fingers. Gentle gliding like you're ice skating, right? I used to love watching the ice skating competitions during the Olympics and during the U.S. National World Championships. All right, this puppy is now ready for rolling. Now, we want to, when we roll, we look at this as a square, 4 sides, right? 1 side, 2 side, 3 side, 4 side, or 1 side, 2 side, 3 side, 4 side. When we roll, we want to roll one side a certain number of times, flip to the second side, roll that the same number of times, flip it to the third side, roll it the same number of times, and then the fourth side. That's how we do our rolling in wet felting. When we're done with one side, we flip it over and we do the same exact thing on the other side. So I'm going to show you the process on one side, and then I'm not going to talk, so you can fast forward until I am done with my rolling. But just watch this one process. I do not tie my rolls because it's big enough and I just can't stand tying anything down. So I just make sure that it's nice and rolled up, not squeezed. When you roll it, you're just a nice, snug roll, but not squeeze. If you squeeze it, you're going to squeeze all the water out, and this project needs the water when it rolls. So I roll from fingertip to palm, just like that. So that's 1, 2, okay? So I'm going to do each side about 100 times. This is a pretty big project, and I think it'll do well with 100 rolls. So, oops, sorry, didn't mean to shake the camera again. So I'm going to start rolling. Go ahead and fast forward, or watch the first 1 or 2 rolls just so that you can see how it's done, and then fast forward. Okay, I'll see you when I'm done with all of this rolling. When I roll, I do not press down, especially this first side. Do not press down. You don't want any pressure. When you're done, I turn. I like to go counterclockwise to my second side, so it's nice and ready for me. Sometimes in the rolling process, the bottom sheet of bubble wrap buckles or starts to curl up. I just pull it so that it gets straight, and then I roll up my second side the same way I did my first side. That's all 4 sides. I'm going to flip this to the other side and continue my rolling. So this is side 1 on side 2. All right, we are all done rolling both sides. Now we're going to check and see if we're ready to go on to the next step. So you may have this happen to you where the ends are curling up a little bit, or the resist wants to start moving in of itself. That just means that your fibers are starting to felt and condense. So it's just pulling as it's getting smaller and shrinking. What I like to do is really give it more of an aggressive move around and make sure that nothing wants to. So a little bit here didn't really, so I may close that up and do a little hand massage. Flip it around. I can do that now because it's all the fibers are together, or most of the fibers are together. A little bit spot here, but the silk is nice and attached to the merino. It's just like I said, these artificial pieces sometimes get a little vulnerable. So I'm going to close this up and do some hand massaging. This time with the massaging, I'm going to go a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more faster. It can handle it now. Before, it won't handle and you'll start ripping holes and moving your fibers around. You don't want to do that. But here, we just kind of want to say, come on, you got to do what you got to do. You got to hug those artificial fibers. All right. I'm going to flip it to the other side and do the same thing. Get a little bit more aggressive with it. It can take the aggression. It's strengthened up. It's kind of like yelling at it like a mom. Come on. I told you to clean your room. You're going to clean your room. So, you're going to hug the fibers. All right, that should be a good amount of scolding. All right, so now what I would like to do is I want to loosen this a little bit from the resist, but I want to go a little gentle. And what I do is I turn this around so that I can grab these inside edges. Don't be scared of it. It's pretty solid right now, but I just gently pull, turn, and pull, turn, and pull. You still want to be gentle. Now I see a lot of first-time students doing this, and they immediately start getting really aggressive right after rolling, and it doesn't, it can handle some of it, but you don't want your stuff to fall apart. So go gentle. Now that I'm nice and loose, I can pull my resist out, and I'm going to give this a very gentle kind of throw down, very gently. Okay, this is the fulling process of wet felting. This is telling your fibers to start closing and condensing more, become more of a solid piece of fabric. And I'm just picking little pieces up and almost rolling it because I don't want to do one side. If I dropped on one side, that side would shrink. So if you have a geometric shape that you're trying to get into a different shape and you do one side for too long, your shape then becomes kind of convoluted. Same thing here. We want, this is a continuous shape. We don't want to make this shape into anything other than a little cowl. All right, so it feels more solid. The wool will talk to you and tell you if it needs, if it's ready for something a little bit more aggressive. What I'm going to do now is heal my edges. So I'm going to turn it so that I'm exposing little pieces of this edge. What I'm going to do is with my flat hand, I'm just going to rub ever so gently my edges on the bubble. And this is going to solidify those edges, and they're not going to fray or pull apart. Once I do that on one little spot, I'm going to gently turn it to another spot that needs to be healed. And I'm just rubbing the edge. I'm not rubbing really anything else. I'm just giving it a little bit of a an aggressive rub so that they interlock and I don't have vulnerable edges that fray. Now you may want frayed edges. Skip this part if you like the fray edges. You could even cut even more frays if you wanted to and give it more like a little fringy look. Or at this point in time, you could add some little pieces of whatchamacallit, what is that? The words escape me. Yarn, or even some like felted cords if you know how to make felted cords. But this fabric is very soft and very flexible at this point in time. It's not quite ready. If you were to stop here and not full this completely, you would have a very soft but almost vulnerable looking piece of fabric. It'll dry and it'll look like it wants to just crumble on you. So we don't want that. We want a nice solid mass. Once I'm done with one edge, I'm going to flip it and do the same thing on the other edge. Again, just a little bit of aggressive rub on the bubble wrap. Very gently. Move it around. Tell those edges to seal or not. Depends on your aesthetic and what you want your little neck warmer to look like. You could already see some of these silks just curling on the fabric. I'll show you when I'm done with this edge. You might see it on the video, but it just looks so lovely. I love when the silk just curls and gives it that beautiful little texture. This teal is absolutely stunning. All right, this is all done. So let's look. You could see some of those little curls in there. Here's a nice little curl. See how that silk just plays in. You can even see some of that cobalt. The cobalt, oh wow, the cobalt did not curl as much as the tussa silk, as the white tussa silk. Very interesting, huh? All right, now I'm going to ball this up. Now, sometimes first timers use a little too much soap. If you have suds upon suds of your project, go ahead and dip it in water and get rid of some of those suds and then come back. But if your project looks like this, where it's not a lot of suds, it's in a perfect spot for this to happen. So I like to ball up my project and just throw it. Still gentle. It's like between gentle and aggression. I am telling my fibers now to fully condense and interlock and shrink and do its strengthening process. Okay, I do this for a little while, just a little ball and throwing it on the table. You're going to start to see your fabric start to buckle. It's going to start to like almost look like it looks like bubbles. You want that. In case I forgot to say that, because that just means that your fibers are really interlocking with each other. Okay, let's assess this and see the process. Yes, we've got some buckles going on here, which is really nice. Let's see how much this has shrunk so far. Okay, about 10-15%. Not too bad on either side. It's getting there. All right, so I don't want this to be a very long piece on my neck, so I'm going to shrink these edges. So by doing that, I just let it drop, almost throwing it on the table on the edge side. And I turn it like a clock ever so often. I don't know, I do a lot of counterclockwise, but you could do clockwise if that's what your brain is telling you to do. So this will both shrink and full at the same time. All right, I'm going to do that and then flip it to the other end. See how it's starting to really curl in and of itself? That's a good sign. Listen to those signs, right? Listen, listen to your little gut instincts. Oh, some of my mohair didn't really stick as well. That's okay. It might give it a nice little artistic effect. We will keep it and we will not worry about it too much. If it worries you a lot, you could always, if your mohair comes off or anything comes off, you could always just cut it off. It's really not a big deal. I'm throwing it. I'm giving it a little bit more aggression than just being gentle and tough love. So after that, let's see, it shrunk a little bit more. Now I want it to shrink in this way, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this in half and I'm going to roll it in on itself. I don't need to count. I'm just going to roll until my little heart tells me to stop rolling. And then open this up again, roll it on the other side. And I can still throw. Throwing and kind of being aggressive with it is going to help with the fulling process. It can take it at this point. It's not okay, I might open this. I might completely open this. Give it a little turn. See, it's already shrunk a little bit more, which is good. We want that to happen. And then I'll fold it again and give it a nice little roll so it can shrink a little bit more. I want it to fit around my neck rather than hang down to my belly button. It is a neck warmer, not a belly button warmer. I might even just throw it down like this while it's still in the sausage roll. Give it a little bit more encouragement to shrink on that end too. Open it, and look at that. It shrunk even more. Oh yeah, there we go. We're down to about 20% now. All right, I still want this end and this end to come in a little bit more. This end is a pretty good size, and with the handling that we're going to do with it, it's going to probably shrink a little bit more, so give it a little bit of wiggle room. But I really want to concentrate on this end. So I'm going to fold on this side now and roll in. So if you want to shrink anything, roll in the direction that you want that side to shrink. So I want those top edges, the hole edges, to shrink. So I'm rolling those top edge holes so that they shrink. And in this process too, with the fulling process, if you have a little bit of elements that are a little vulnerable, they actually might integrate with the fulling process, and you won't have to worry about snipping them off if they really bother you. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't, but just letting you know, in my experience, there was one time I was doing another project, and I had a lot of vulnerable artificial pieces in it, and I was like, oh, I'll just cut it off afterwards. But I continued with my fulling and everything. By the time I was done with the fulling and the shrinking, all those vulnerable pieces just kind of interlocked each other right at the last minute, and I was like, woohoo, I don't have to cut anything. So sometimes that happens, which is a nice little miracle. Let's open this. It's already shrunk, I can already tell. Open this a little bit. Look at how much, yeah, a little bit more. I'm going to open this up a little. I'm going to open this up again so that those fibers do not, you can see those fibers want to integrate with each other. They were left a little too long hugging each other and they wanted to integrate. So just have to be gentle with it and say, nope, I don't want you to marry each other. Not today. All right. I'm just going to do another little roll this way and the other way. I'm actually going to take my other one and just compare the size. All right, let's open this and compare the one that I already made and see. Oh, look at that. That's really cool. I got it to the size. Maybe just shrink it in a little bit more, and I think I might do that with just throwing this. So now I can really get aggressive and really give it a pounding. So I share my studio space with other businesses, and sometimes I wonder if they think, oh, what is she doing in there? She's pounding something again. Maybe they think, I don't know what they think. I always wonder about that. I should probably knock on their door and say, can you hear me pounding? They'll probably say, I don't know what you're talking about. There's a pretty big space that I have here. Just going to do this for a little bit, and this is going to shrink it up. It's also going to make, hopefully, some of the chiffon buckle a little bit more. All right, let's do an assessment here. It's so soft. Yeah, we've got some buckling going on here. Look at that. It's really nice. I think it shrunk even more than I wanted it to. Yup, look at that. That's awesome. Very cool. Oh my goodness. This makes me happy. All right. I think I'm going to finish this up. Let's get this water over here. Put it on the plastic so it doesn't. And this is what I do. It's just a nice vat of clean water. Put it in and I squeeze all of that soap out. I do give it an aggressive squeeze. And yes, squeezing and handling your fabric is going to shrink it ever so slightly. So be careful with that. So some people like to do a vinegar rinse, and I'm not opposed to it. It does bring the pH back down to normal. But for this demonstration, I'm not going to use a vinegar rinse. But I am going to do a squeeze towel dry. So I'm going to open this. And I'm not going to squeeze where I don't want it to shrink. Like this part here has shrunk enough. I do not want to shrink that puppy anymore. But this side from here to here can shrink a little bit more. So I flatten it and roll it into the towel. And I can do a little squeeze roll to get some of that water out. And doing that will shrink, so be careful if you're really keeping an eye on sizing. A squeeze roll, getting rid of even more of that water. And my guy is all ready to dry. Now, to dry this, what I like to do is to crinkle this up and dry it crinkled, just like that. I will just walk away from this, let that dry for 24 hours, come back, and it'll be nice and soft. But I'm really happy with the way this came out, and these colors are amazing. So this is going to be a really nice little gift for somebody. So I hope you enjoyed my tutorial, and if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. Happy felting. Bye-bye.